Here, Jason Rathbun, head coach, Herkimer Generals, national champs this year, 2022. Now he's in the Cape coaching. So, Jason, thanks for jumping on with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been watching these for a long time ABCA member. So, really glad to get on here with you today.
I mean, have you had a chance to reflect at all, or was it a dead sprint to get up to the Cape?
It was about a 3-day turnaround. So, when we got back, I felt like I was packing up and kissing my girls goodbye and headed out here for a little while on my own. Luckily, they've made their way out here now, so it's been a little bit better since they've been out here as far as that quick turnaround. But I really haven't had the chance to be home and celebrate. Usually after the season, I have a spot up in the Adirondacks that I'll go to and kind of reflect there a little bit on the season and sit by the fire pit and go for a swim. But it was straight here to the Cape for this experience. So it's been a little different, but it's been great.
How long does it take you to decompress after a season?
The whole summer. I'm usually, I'm usually ready around August, but I think part of that is I've always lost my last game, so this year we won our last game. So it was a different feeling because you were always so sad for the guys for everything that they sacrificed and everything they did to come up short when you knew how bad they want it. And when they win it, it's like, oh man, we won it. But I'm still kind of sad, because, we're going to lose so many of these guys. And, so there was that strange feeling that I haven't really had before where I was so happy and excited for everything that we did that year, but yet still sad because at the end of the day, we're still losing them.
Is that the pro and the con of being at a 2-year school is quick turnover so you can get things turned over quicker, but also you're losing guys every year?
Yeah. The way I like to think about it is there's just more kids that I get a chance to impact every year, right? When you're at a 4-year school, you have those kids a little bit longer. So relationships are a little bit longer, and I'm sure they're stronger as well with more time. But you get to impact so many kids' lives and helping them find their next stop or getting them right here and getting them prepared for the next step. And, it is high turnover, but there's a great part of that as well.
Have your assistants been with you the whole time?
No, we've shuffled around a little bit. I had Pat Carroll, who was at Ithaca College, played with me at Herkimer, and he transitioned with me my first year at Herkimer when I got there. He went on to be an assistant at Siena, so a great baseball mind. And through the years, just some people have jumped on for a year or two. I've been lucky enough to have Lane Potter the last 5 years. I was really excited about 2020. It was kind of our first recruiting class together with both classes, and we had a really good team that year. And I thought as soon as Lane got on that we really were starting to pull in even more talent here. So he's been great. He's been awesome for us, and he's really been able to handle the hitter side. Even this year, we made an adjustment. We moved him out to the third base box, and with the catcher communication system, I found myself wanting to call pitches a little bit more. So I really dove into that this year, being in the dugout and calling pitches and allowing Lane to kind of run the offense. And it was a great setup, obviously, for us.
How are you relaying pitches to the catchers?
So we use the Coach Com. It's a catcher communication system, walkie-talkie with an earpiece. It's been great for us. A little expensive, as everything is these days, but definitely worth every dollar we spent on it.
Yeah, I know most guys, people listening in, anybody that's using this system loves it. Man, it goes down every once in a while, right?
Yeah, not too bad. If you keep it charged, it's been really good. We're using the same thing out here in the Cape. So I'm calling pitches out here, and, we haven't had many issues. I think the only issue we had with it one time was we were cleaning the earpiece and some water got in the tube, and we kind of had to dry that out. But for the most part, that's only really been the only issue.
What are you using as a backup just in case?
We have a few receivers here. So we have, multiple headpieces and things like that. If we have to go back to the traditional signs, we have been kind of caught in a pinch. I remember one game in the World Series, we didn't charge it. And, getting ready to play the game and it's dead. And I'm like, oh my God, We've been doing this all year. So
How was the anxiety there?
Yeah. Our trainer Kyle said, "Kyle, we need an extension cord," and he took off out of the dugout to go find one. And we plugged it into the bathroom there. But we went, the first inning or two with their traditional hand signs.
You had players with really good seasons. Just looking through it, John Navenchi hit 420. The one that stuck out was Joe Ferrone. He had 47 walks at the plate. I mean, when
No, that's a few years ago.
Is that
that's
okay?
A few years ago.
Okay, because that's what I pulled up. So I apologize. That was off the website. So
no, that's all right. I think sometimes those years don't switch over, but yeah, that was a few years ago. A couple guys we had there.
So I mean, just highlight some guys this year that had great seasons.
Sure, absolutely. I think it starts with Greg Ferrone, our big left-handed pitcher. He's a University of Louisville commit. Ended up being National Pitcher of the Year this year. Just he's a great story for our program, to be honest with you. I think sometimes JUCO get the label of, if you have a really great player, it's like, oh, where do you transfer in from, and Greg is not that situation. He's a kid that we really liked out of high school. We thought he was projectable, and he came in here and had a lot to learn in a short amount of time, but he was a 6'4", 190-pound lefty that was 82 to 83. And really just dove into the mechanics of it, the preparation, the daily grind of being a pitcher, and it paid off. I mean, he, in a 2-year span, he's, now 6'5", 6'6", 240 pounds, changed his body. And there's still room for growth there for sure. And he left here throwing, 94 miles per hour. So it's great when you have a kid like that really did grow in your program and develop into that dream, because that's what we sell, right? We tell every high school kid that we're interested in, if you're not getting the money that you want, right? If it's not a great financial situation for you and your family, junior college can be a great path, right? It can help you find where you truly fit. Like, if you think you're a Division I player and you're not getting the offers for that, we'll come prove it, and it can happen here. And it's situations like Greg, or a few years ago, Willie Gabay got cut from his high school team, ended up getting drafted out of here. Situations like that you can kind of point to these kids and say, that could be you. And so I think Greg's definitely the poster child for us for this year, being a 2-time All-American. Right behind him would be Dakota Britt. He was a 2-time All-American for us too, left-handed hitter. I think he came up 1 home run shy of our home run record this year, but over the course of 2 years, the stats that he put up are really remarkable. And not only that, I mean, he came from Texas, the weather's a little different down there. So the adjustments he had to make mentally to get through our springs and the grind that it is, we play a lot of games condensed into a short amount of time because of our weather. I have a lot of respect for what he did coming that far away from home. Ryan Packard was also first-team All-American for us. Statistically, besides strikeouts, he was, better than Greg. He was, he broke our win record. His ERA was under 1 almost all year. They were the 1-2 punch we've been searching for a long time. They were really the 1-2 punch that we needed to get into a tournament style format and be able to do something. In the World Series, Joel Hainer ended up stepping up and being our number 3 starter for us. He's the one that threw the game against Eastfield that really gave us a chance to win that thing. So we had great pitching. A lot of guys, obviously. A lot of guys in the lineup as well. Kyle Kakamais, he's probably the shortest stature kid out in the field, but, the kid knows the game. He ended up being Defensive Player of the Year, winning a Gold Glove. He was the offensive MVP in the World Series. And I don't know, I think he's 5'8". I mean, he's not the biggest kid. He knows his swing and he knows the game, and that's the great thing about baseball is, you don't have to be the biggest kid to be a factor, and he's a classic example of that.
And I was looking through your roster. You've got kids from southern parts of the United States. How are you pulling kids north? I mean, historically, that's not the thing. You pull them down. How are you pulling kids up north?
I think it's the opportunity, right? I mean, the chance to get somewhere else. We don't stop until everybody has a home. And, we put a lot of pride in that. And I think that we create a great atmosphere. I think, baseball can be fun. It's not the last step, and that's what I tell kids is, if you're coming to Herkimer, it's just a step in the process. It's not the final step for you. And that, whether that's 1 year or 2 year, that doesn't really matter to me. Our job is to kind of, do the best thing for each individual kid, and if that means moving on after 1 year, then he moves on after 1 year. If it means he moves on after one semester, we move him on after one semester. It's bigger than trying to be selfish. And, it's crazy to me, like, to tell coaches they can't talk to your freshmen. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, we want to give these guys as much exposure as possible.
You have a smaller roster by design?
No. I just think that travel is still can be an issue, and, those type of things. And you want to keep people happy. I think our roster was really filled with more pitchers. I think we had 30 on the roster by the end of the year. And I think a lot of them were pitchers, maybe, 18, 16 or 17, 18 of them were just pitchers. And when we had different guys, we had sidearm guys and lefty guys. And, it's tough from a standpoint when you have a lot of specialists and, maybe they don't get a lot of innings, but their appearances were good. I think a lot of guys got 7, 8 appearances, but maybe it was only for 5, 6 innings, so, but that's baseball, and you have to kind of understand your role. And I think that we, again, do a really good job of communicating with our kids. What's your role? What's your, status with us? What do we predict for you? And then creating opportunity.
Was a turning point in the season after spring break for you all? And this is an inside look at being a Northern school, because you're in the gym probably before you start playing outside. Maybe once in a blue moon you might be able to get outside and practice. But is that kind of an expectation? Good to see the Russ Matt tournament still going, but is that kind of an expectation as a Northern school that things might not always be as great, win-loss record early in the year?
Well, I think that with the at-large being a possibility, we're trying to create the toughest schedule possible for Division III. I'll be honest with you, we kind of stay away from Division II and Division I games because we want to play teams that we could possibly be matched up against. And when we came out of the gate last year, I think out of our first 12 scheduled games, 10 of them were nationally ranked. Yeah. So, they were good games, and our record may not have been great, but I think our 4 losses, came with our 5 or 6 starter, that had to throw. And maybe, I think we even went as deep as 7 starters. So, it's one of those things where that's where the opportunities are created, right? Down south. I think, when you go down south, it's a trip and players are contributing money to that. And so you want to get everyone in, that's the goal, to try to get everyone an opportunity down there, no matter what, the wins or losses. That really doesn't matter at that point of the season. You want people to get out, get a chance, show what they can do, even if it's just one appearance. Listen, I've been on teams, right, where the opportunity is 0, so, you get on some of these, bigger school rosters and, you don't ever get in the game. And I always thought that, man, I want to at least get everyone a chance, so they can at least say, even if it's just one chance, and we've had situations where kids got put in situations down there. And, Cedric Rose is a kid I can think of that's playing at UMass Lowell. He's a catcher. And we wanted to get him at bat, and we put him in at third base. He made a diving play down the line, had a little chopper, came up, made that great third base play on a chopper. And, I looked at Lane and Darrell, I said, whoa, but that's, that's a little different. We got to take a better look at him over there. And he ended up winning that third base job. And again, he was going to be a big part of our lineup in 2020, but he ended up moving on to UMass Lowell, and he's been an everyday fixture there. So, yeah, that's the opportunity,
Yeah, and that's part of managing your staff early in the year too. At coaching in cold weather places, your schedule gets compacted early, and you can't blow 3 or 4 guys out early in the year because they're not going to make it the whole year.
No doubt, especially when you have the arm talent that we had with our big 2, right? So they threw the first weekend, the first game of the week, and then 8 days later they threw towards the end of it. They're very it's very important to manage the arms at that time of the year. I don't think anybody even touched 100 pitches till the week before playoffs, just because of the weather, and you want to make sure they're getting good recovery in between, but no reason to really overextend them during the year.
Because the soreness is real early in the year when you're playing in cold weather and practicing cold weather. The arms are going to be a little bit more tender than if it was warmer. That's just part of what we dealt with in colder weather.
For sure. And that, as a pitching guy, that's what I'm doing out here in the Cape, is working with the pitching staff. Head day after pitching is really important to me. Over my experience, I just feel like, and as a pitcher, that next day, your body is just, I don't care what you say, it's got some wear and tear. And if we can just shut it down for 24 hours after an outing, I think it's really critical to the recovery piece. And then, obviously having the proper recovery and build up to the next start. And, that's what you see in the great ones, that process is really bought into.
What are you using recovery protocol wise?
So we do a mixture of a lot of different things, right? So I'm not going to lie to you. I am still an old school bath guy. I like the ice baths. I think it does something for the inflammation that's in the body. I think it cools the body down. I think it, reduces swelling for sure. And maybe in places you don't even realize, right? Maybe your hamstring is a little, but you don't really feel it. But I just feel like when you get in that ice bath, and then we do a shutdown for 24 hours. So, again, I know a lot of people are probably going to argue some of these ideas but I like a distance run after a start. We start and we get, and it's not necessarily because we're training. I think it's more of just running it out, getting a full body endurance type of workout. I was in the military, and I remember what some of those long runs felt like, and the recovery process from that and things like that. And I do think there's some value in it. Now, when we get closer to our start, we'll do more sprint work. There'll be more explosive type of things as we're preparing to get on the mound. But that recovery phase is really a lot of, we like to do some distance running. We like to get in the ice bath. We like to lift, right? That following day that we're not throwing, we're going to get a lift in. And it's just, again, that start the process. Then day 3 is going to be a light throwing today. We're not going to be too intense, but we're going to get into our, our shoulder workouts, our shoulder tubes, our jobs, our Donnelleys, our scap exercises. And we're going to start to kind of work the shoulder a little bit. The 4th day, we'll start to open it up a little bit. We'll start to throw more, get a little bit more distance into it. By the 5th day, we can hopefully throw a little box bullpen or light bullpen. If we're not feeling it, then we can make adjustments. I don't, again, it's each individual, and we try to individualize things in our program. So within there's a lot of different room. There's a lot of room for their own things, right? We have guys that go see Eric Cressy. We have guys that go see, Capital District Sports in Albany, and all, SPI, and all these different places that, have different added stretching and things like that. So we want them to educate themselves. We want to give them a baseline of what we want them to do. And then anything else that they want to add to that, we talk about it. We give them the flexibility to do that, because we want them to be their own coach. We want them to understand their routine and their preparation to pitch. And again, I think that's what the great ones do. I know it because I'm watching it out here, right? I'm not creating routines for these guys. These guys have routines in school, and I stress to them that that's what I want them to. I want them to do their routine and to get ready to pitch every time out. And I'm here, I'm here to ask questions and to add things and to watch bullpens and help with pitch design and arm path and things like that. But the great ones know their routine, and they buy into whatever information you can give them and create their own. And you see it out here, you see it in college, and it's just the way it seems to be.
That's the art and the science piece to the recovery portion of it. Because I think about it too, because, people, there is anti-ice, but a starter has some endurance factor to it. So when you look at long distance runners, they use the ice bath quite a bit because the mitochondria in the bloodstream, it helps them develop their bloodstream to be able to handle the endurance. So, and that's the blending of a starter it's a lot of short bursts, but it's a ton of them. So there is some endurance piece to that, and that's why I like talking about it, because there's so many different ways to do it. But that's kind of the science piece of it. There is more endurance for a starter. They have to go longer than your relievers. So the ice bath is not a bad option to help with mitochondria in the bloodstream.
Exactly, because I've always felt like they throw their outing, right, and their body's tired. Yep. So it's like, all right, let's go for a distance run now so we can get 2 more innings out of your legs, right? So that run is increasing your endurance after every start because you're getting your legs more work, even though your body, maybe you can't throw your pitches as much as you want to, or you can't command them like you want to, or you're feeling tired. That run can help build that endurance as the year goes on. So yeah, it's a big part for what we do. And listen,
and the mental checkout piece too. The mental, it's easier to
you can go for
they can
run,
decompress an outing. They're able to decompress an outing. So I think there's some mental health benefits to it as well, because they can check out, they can go over, and it helps them kind of flush an outing. Whether it was good or bad, it helps them flush it.
Absolutely. No question about it. And here's the thing. I mean, we could talk about data and science and all that stuff, right? But I mean, I've been coaching up there for 17 years now. And if you throw out the COVID year where some wacky stuff happened in the summer that year, right? We've only had 1 surgery. So
I was the same way. I mean, and our buildup was the same. It was some endurance stuff the day after, and then as it got closer to their start, it was more sprint work to get the central nervous system prepared for short bursts.
Yeah. So it's worked out for us, and like I said, we've kept people healthy, and the development's there. Guys are increasing their velocity while they're here. So, I mean, we're always adjusting. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's no way that the pitching program this year is the same from last year. It adjusts every year, but there are some things in there that we do find a lot of value in that. I don't like to get into those, Twitter discussions, those arguments, right? And they throw the bait out there too, right? I saw one the other day. It's like, coaches, do you call your pitches for your team? Yes or no? Why do you fight? I'm like, yeah, I'm not touching that one, right? Like, everybody tell me how dumb I am about calling pitches, but
I'm to the point now where just some people just want to fight. And that's how I've viewed it here lately. And I try to stay off the arguments, and I will get in one every once in a while, and I try to handle it very professionally. But in the back of my mind, it's just like some people just want to argue. Like that's their outlet for the day. That's a cortisol dump for them. They want to get it out and get it off their chest, and that's just the way things are with Twitter right now.
Yeah, no question about it. Here's the realistic part, right? There is 100 different ways to hit, and every hitter has their own way that they need to hit. Some guys can't be out front, weight transfer guys. Pitchers, there's 100 different ways to pitches, and some ways going to work for some guys and some ways it's not. Each player has to find what works for them. There's no, and we use the word cookie cutter so much, but I mean, it's the realistic part, right? There's no cookie cutter when you're building a team, like we're out here in the Cape, and, Coach Shevchak is amazing, right? I mean, I love working for this guy, and it's made me feel like what it feels like to be an assistant, and that's the type of person that I would want to work for. And we talk and communicate all the time, and Javier Vaz from Vanderbilt, little scrappy, guy that doesn't strike out a lot, and you may overlook him, but man, you put him in the 9 hole, and it's a problem because he's fighting off pitches. He's scrappy. He plays with energy. And, he has his own style of game that, you don't want to teach to necessarily your big cleanup hitter, but you got to have guys do different things. And it's a great example. And Kyle Kakamais was that for us at Herkimer this year, little left-handed hitter, didn't strike out, always put the ball in play, made things happen on the base pass, carried us emotionally on the field, kind of a leader. Like, there's a lot of different ways to play the game, and to say one way's wrong or one way's right, it just seems closed-minded to me,
Javier's a JUCO product as well.
Absolutely. Right.
That's great.
Absolutely.
At Vandy, but JUCO product at Vandy. Dad was a phenomenal player at Alabama. Just saw his dad and Carrie last week. He's got good bloodlines there. His dad was the same way. Dad was a great player at Alabama, SEC Player of the Year, and just a really good player. So the bloodlines are there. But again, just a good example of what junior college baseball can do for guys' career.
And as soon as he got here, you saw the impact. It was immediate. I mean, it literally started to spark our offense. It sparked our mojo a little bit, and he carries himself that way. And you need that, man. You need some energy, and we needed a little bit of that. And I've seen the way you could tell when we watched him on TV. It was like, man, he's available.
He plays right. Guy plays
let's
right.
Go get him.
It's one of my favorite. I love watching guys like that because there's still value for those guys in this game, and the analytics will tell you there's not. There is. Teams that win, they have a couple of those guys in the lineup that can get things started against no matter what type of arm that you're facing. You need guys that can put ball in play because it can't just be swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss over and over and over again because you're not going to get any runs going.
Yeah, I mean, listen, our best hitter out here is Alex Freeland, Central Florida shortstop. Honestly, the Cape this summer is filled with shortstops that I'm wowed by every day. It's unbelievable the shortstops that are out here playing right now. And Freeland's one of them, switch hitting shortstop, going to be a high draft pick. And, when Vaz is in that 9 hole and, you think you're at the end of the lineup and he's fighting you, and, 10, 12, 14 pitches, and he finds a way on, and then all of a sudden Freeland's coming up, as a pitcher, you're just like, oh my God, here we go. So it's fun, man. It's fun to see it at this level. I think that's, a big reason I wanted to come out here this summer is see how it translates from, Division III junior college to the best of the best in the country, that are out here. And it's great, man. Kids are kids, it doesn't matter.
That's the best thing is you'll see it's really not a lot different. It's not a lot different. It's not.
Yeah.
Kids are still kids, no matter what school, no matter what name across the chest.
Yeah.
They're still kids.
And it's great to see, we got some junior college guys that they got hired this year, for some big Division I jobs. So I'm hoping that that's starting to change a little bit and people can see the value in what we do at this level. And it's not, the JUCO of old that I think so many people kind of think back to, but
I think that's the great thing about social media. I think this is one of the positives about social media is that if you have a little bit of a presence, people are going to know if you're good or not now. Whether that's speaking on a circuit somewhere or giving a presentation somewhere or just being out. You don't have to do a lot, but I think it's much easier for athletic directors to be able to dig on people now than it was in the past, which is, I think, why you're seeing people get more opportunities now is because we are one huge community of coaching now. So if you're an athletic director out there, you can do just a nominal part of digging and find out if a guy can coach, what their values are, what their core covenants are. You can see all that stuff now that people are putting out on social media.
Yeah, there's some great ones out there. Even Chev, he's been at Keystone for a long time and won a lot of conference championships. And I can tell you, just being out here with him, like that man can handle these type of athletes. He's won championships out here in the Cape. If I'm an AD, I'm calling him up and begging him. Like, hey, you've done it at every level and dealt with the best. And it is. And it's great to see some of that finally paying off. And it's things like the ABCA that helps get things out there. And that's why it's been a great organization. I remember my first year joining the ABCA.
I was going to ask you who nudged you to get into the ABCA.
Yeah, when I was coach, it was like my second or third year, and I'd heard about it. So it was down in Orlando, and I got, obviously I was late registering, so I was in like the Satellite Hotel and riding the bus over, and I don't know anybody, I don't know anybody. And a couple seats back, I see Dan Pepicelli, and he was at St. John Fisher at the time. And, and I said, hey, what's going on? Like you're the first guy I've been able to say hi to, and then going there. And I heard Tom Griffin speak about catching that year. I think Francona did a presentation, told some stories about Manny and things like that. And
hey, the best thing he said that year, I was in Orlando, and I thought Orlando was one of the best presenter lineups we've had because even Sunday was, Mark Reardon was on Sunday, Kevin Schnall was on Sunday. Dr. Fatty and Dylan Lawson spoke on
Yes.
Sunday that year, but Francona said that was the first time ever that he had ever had a team play pitch to pitch for that long when
Yeah.
they won the World
Yeah.
Series, which is amazing to me. A guy had managed forever and had been around the elite of the elite, and it just stuck out that, okay, even those guys have a hard time playing pitch to pitch.
Yeah. I remember when he said that he was in the dugout and there was like 5 guys lined up with their batting gloves getting ready to hit, right? Because they all had so much faith that they were going to get up that inning, and things like that. I mean, it's that overwhelmed me. And I knew immediately the value that was in that. And I haven't missed since. Sadly, I missed my son's graduation from the Coast Guard to be there one year because I do really understand the value in that. I made up for it at schooling graduation. I had to fly out to California for that one, but
by the way, congratulations. I saw 5th generation military, correct? Your son?
yes. Yep.
Which is awesome. By the way, July 4th, I mean,
yep.
Congrats. I mean, it's awesome. I have a lot of respect for people that have donated and given their life and dedicated their life to the military because it's not something that everyone can do. So when I read that 5th generation, that's got to make you proud.
It is. I loved my time in the Army. I served over in Kuwait for 6 months, and it was a great experience. And getting out of the military and going to college and becoming a student athlete, it prepared me for that. And it's done the same thing for my son. He made the president's list this year as academically, and he struggled a little bit in high school. It does so much for you as far as seeing the world and what's out there and the things you need to do to survive and be successful and things like that. And there is a lot of pride with it. There's a lot of honor with it. I still got my dog tags on around my neck. And these guys, they ask questions, hey, because I don't think they really see that a lot in their coaches. How many of these guys have coaches that were veterans or served or were overseas, and they like to ask questions and talk about it a little bit. So it's cool. It's cool to bring that aspect to it a little bit. But
that was the best thing we did at Western Illinois was get involved with the ROTC program. We would do stuff early in the fall with them, and then we would mix things in with them, and then Master Sergeant Robertson would come in and talk to our guys in our classroom sessions. That was one of the best things we did for our guys to bring and be involved with the ROTC program. It meant a lot to our program. It just brought a lot of value to our program. From discipline, teamwork, they're doing the same things that a team is doing. They're doing a lot, and that was the eye-opening thing for our players. Is they were like, okay, they're doing the same stuff we're trying to do to help build team and camaraderie and culture, and they're doing the exact same things.
No doubt about it. I found a lot of value in some of my military experiences that we translate to our game now. For sure. I mean, just the responsibility part of it and the accountability and, there's so much to it that we bring into our program and the pride that we have in that, but it's great. I wouldn't give those 3 years back for anything. It was a great experience, living down in Georgia, and I played a little summer ball down there and was able to latch on to a Division I JUCO in Florida for my first attempt down there. So, it was great for me and created opportunities for sure. But
when you got the job in 2005, was that something that you were going to instill? Like, okay, this worked in the military. Is this something that I'm going to instill with the program?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I remember the most about the military is it made you do things you never thought you could do. Right. So going on a 12-mile road march with a backpack, boots, and carrying a rifle, I never thought that I could do that, and when you accomplish something like that, it just gave you this huge sense of pride. This, wow, like you really felt like you could go tackle the world, and crazy, like being in a gas chamber, you train in basic training, they throw you in a gas chamber and you got to breathe it in for 10 seconds. And, you walk out of there, everything draining out of you. And you're like, man, I did that, but that's scary, but I did that, like, I just think you get these hurdles and you're like, wow. And I thought that, man, if you could bring that to baseball, like, man, I never thought I could do this, or I never thought I could do that. And you create that type of mindset that you feel like you can accomplish anything, and that's why maybe a small very, very small school like Herkimer can go to a World Series and beat teams from Boston, Chicago, and Dallas, en route to a national championship. And, it's possible if you believe that you can really do it and mentally you get to that place where anything's achievable. So, yeah, no doubt about it. The brotherhood, right? The bond. We have a very strong policy in our program not to talk smack about each other. We want to support each other and build each other up and be a support system. And we want you to tell each other how great you are, like, man, you are the best bunter I've ever played with, like whatever you can do and kind of highlight and, make them feel good about themselves. Again, that mental piece, right? Like if they think they're the best bunter on the team, when it's time to get a bunt down, they really believe that, so we just want to try to, again, part military, right? You got to be there, support each other when you're, we had soldiers away from their families or never been deployed before or struggling with the adjustment. And you try to pick them up and make them realize what they're there for and what they're trying to do. And a lot of that's relatable, man. A lot of it.
Were you guys the auto bid of the World Series?
We were a at-large bid. Yep. So we
love it.
We played.
It works, by the way. Tyler was auto bid last year.
Yeah,
like
the last four.
The system works.
It does. I think that there's some inequality in regions. There's some regions that are bigger than others and things like that. And I think if you had more of a classic NCAA regional where teams kind of were seeded and spread out and you go to seeds and things like that, it makes more sense to not have one. But with our structure and budgets and things like that, sometimes you get regions that have 2 or 3 teams. I mean, we've lost to Niagara the last 2 years by 1 run in the last game, and it's heartbreaking because I'll tell you what, last year's team was really good too, and to have to win, you slip up early, you fight your way back. You got to win 2 on Sunday. You win the first one by a pretty good margin. You think you got things in control. You're leading the second game in both situations. And, you end up falling short and having to come back, knock you out. And it's tough. And that's why it's so important to play a strong schedule because that is out there. And, this year was our region, but, the New Jersey region has been really strong for years and they've pulled that large. And, Texas did obviously when they had Tyler down there. So I think it is. I think it's a great, because of the format, right? Because there's no regional sites and you're just kind of playing in your area. I think it is good for our game.
Ran the table at the World Series. I mean, at what point were you like, okay, we might have a chance to win this thing?
Well, I felt really good about our top 2, and Greg kind of came out and set the tone, which I expected. I expected Greg to kind of go out and win that first game, even though Northern Essex had a great program. They had some really good hitters, but I just knew what we had with Greg. And he went out, was really good, and we swung the bats. And, then when Packard was ready to go and we got in a close game with Oakton and, we got that late base hit, the walk-off win there, that slide that was kind of incredible. He really kind of banana peeled out and swiped his hand in for that game-winning slide. And I thought, all right, man, we got a chance. The next one's the big one, right? Like we've used our big 2. We weren't sure who we were starting. I went and watched that game that night with Eastfield and kind of scouted it and thought about who we had and who would be a good matchup. And we decided to go with a freshman, Joel Hainer. And when he was in like the 7th inning and really, we had a pretty good lead and he was cruising and he was pitching, man. He was just filling up the zone with 4 pitches and he was pitching. I thought myself that time, wow, we got a chance. We really do have a chance this time. And Joel finished up into the 9th and, we had the 9th guy come out and throw the 9th. And once we won that one, obviously you go 3-0, that's a good sign that you got a good shot because you got to get beat twice. But I knew we had the big guy coming back, so I was going to use Greg in a situation where we could win. I wasn't necessarily going to start him because we had 2 games to play with and I just wanted to find the right moment for him. And, to be honest with you, our starter went out the first inning and first 3 innings and threw great. I mean, Jake Lombardi, he went out and carved. I think he gave up 1 hit and struck out like 6 or 7 guys with no walks. And he probably could have won an inning or 2 more. But, I knew Greg had 6 or 7 in him. And once we had a lead, and it's like, all right, let's go for it. And we rolled them out there. And to have him start the World Series and strike out, 14 in 7 innings, then bring him in for the end of the World Series. It was great to kind of showcase him like that, as being that elite talent. And, he was able to bring it home, and we didn't have to worry about a game 2.
Hey, when you were watching them scouting, what made you feel like the freshman was going to be a good matchup?
The other option was a lefty. And I felt like the lefty had a lot of really good breaking balls, a lot of movement, but his fastball command it's got a lot of movement. So to come inside to a righty is very tough for him because it seems to tail back over the middle of the plate. I felt like with Joel, we could work both sides of the plates a little bit better with the lineup that they had. They didn't have a lot of lefties. So we just felt like that right-handed matchup and the ability of him to throw to both sides of the plate was a good matchup for us. And his velocity, Joel was a position player. We turned him into a pitcher. And every outing that he had that year, he seemed to get better, and then, velocity early in the year was 85 to 86. And by the end of the year, he started hitting the 90, 91 a little bit. So we knew he was progressing into something. And again, that night he was unbelievable.
How did you know when it was time for him to just focus on pitching?
So he came in, he was a mid-year transfer too. So he was homeschooled. The school that he was talking to required the vax. We had some waivers. He's, obviously being homeschooled, there were some strong religious ties there. So, we were able to kind of have a situation where he could come in with us and go to school, and be able to play. And with bringing him in with the roster construction we had, that was kind of part of the conversation. Like, we can get you some reps. We can get you some, some defensive work and get some swings in the cage, but we really need you on the mound because we do like what we see and with the videos and things like that. And, he came in firing a little bit, and he kind of veered away himself. I think he started to see the value in pitching and what he had going on. I think he wanted to, he saw Greg and Pack doing their routines and what they do to prepare to pitch. And I think that for him was like, man, I got to do all that every day, to be a guy. So I'm just going to focus on this. It honestly, he kind of did it himself.
It's got to come from the kid. I say it all the time. I have had multiple two-way players along the way, and eventually they will come to you and be like, hey, I need to focus on one or the other, because it's a lot. There's some that can do it the whole way through, but it's so much extra time for them to try to get better on their own away from the coaching staff. It takes a special person to be able to do both all the way through.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is difficult. And, you get kids that are really talented, and, you, especially with us, right, it's 2 years. So you got to kind of figure out quick what they're going to do. But, you try to do the best for him, for each player, like where's their best shot at getting to the highest level. And when you try to put that into perspective, it tends to guide itself a little bit, and you explain it to them, but what's your goal? I mean, you want to play every day as a position player. These are the schools you're going to be looking at. If you want to really dedicate yourself to the mound, we think these are the possibilities. And you allow them to make the decision themselves and what they want to do.
How do you have those conversations with a kid that maybe is overshooting what their talent level is?
I think you have to put into perspective what the measurables tell you, right? For us, the first thing that we talk about is academics. If you, in my opinion, right, just my opinion, if you can't get a 3.0 at junior college, what is your chances of being successful academically at a Division I school with the schedule demands that are required of that, right? You may be better off in a Division II or Division III setting where some of those classrooms are a little smaller. They're a little bit more individualized. You're not just a number. You know, if you don't have that self-discipline, then how are you going to be successful in a huge university where you can get lost in the shuffle? It's just, that's the first thing. That's the first thing that we discuss. If you're not a 3.0, don't talk to me about Division I, because it's just not a realistic expectation. And then the second part of the measurables, you know, here's the part that's crazy, right? Like when you hit batting practice, do you hit the ball over the fence? Like, don't tell me you have power. Like, if I give you 20 BP fastballs, how many are you going to hit over the fence? Because you're going to need to be able to do that if you want to get to this certain level. I know that you think in a game that you have the ability to do it, but we have to have that statistical data. I can't just tell a coach, man, he's got a lot of power. And he says, well, how many home runs did he hit this year? And I say 1. That doesn't fly very well, right? So we have to have that data. There's got to be some statistics. There's got to be, you know, everything's a tool. Yes, you have exit velo of 100, but you don't ever hit the ball in the air, you know, like, so a lot of that data is useful, but there has to be stats to back it up. There has to be the ability to do something, right? If you're a pitcher, listen, I'm out at the Cape. There's 150 guys that want to come out here and pitch that are 88 to 90 with good off-speed stuff, you know? And the realistic part is we need guys out here that are 93 to 98.
That have good off-speed
you know?
stuff.
Yeah, with good off-speed stuff, you know? So, like, it's the same thing for our guys. Like, listen, if you want to be a Division I pitcher, you've got to hit the bell, man. You got to hit 90. Like, you got to throw over 90, and you've got to have some off-speed stuff. Like, I appreciate that you feel like you can carve up at 85, but, you know, realistically, that's not going to get you in the door. Like, there's a lot of people that do that. And if you want to get to that level, there's just certain measurables that you have to hit. And again, if you're honest with the kids and you tell them what the expectations are, how do you argue the results, right? Like, this is what it takes. I've told you this from the jump. That's what it takes to get to this level. Now, listen, there's the outliers, right? Sometimes things happen. This situation, unique, but it's the sure thing are these measurables. Like, if you hit these goals, this is assured I can get you somewhere because I know I can market this and somebody's going to listen, right? But there's always a guy that, you know, maybe does something not as well or does something really well, and he'll get a chance to go somewhere and do something at that level. But, you know, for the most part, over this time period, that's what it takes.
How do you help them be patient with the process?
Yeah, that is difficult because, especially with the pitching, right? When we talk about pitching development, I tell every kid that when I watch these kids come through the program, I notice their sophomore year in the winter, the body change. That's when the body changes. The back starts to fill out, right? They start to become that man. And it's just time. Like, it's time, right? Like, it's going to take time. The shoulder,
it's the 1% better thing, you know, and that's the hard part. Like, you have to do it every day, and you see yourself in the mirror. So, like, you're not going to notice those changes because you see yourself in the mirror every day. But it is just, it's got to be every day. It has to. Like, if you want to get to that level, you have to do it every day. I'm sorry. Like, that's what you sign up for. And if not, then that's okay too. But you make that choice as a human. Like, this is what you sign up for. It has to be a daily thing. It has to.
It's the process, right? Again, that's part of it. You want to be a Division I player, you have to love that process. You have to. And the guys that don't love the process, when they're done at Herkimer, they know. Yeah. Like, I don't love the process. I'm just going to go here and have fun. It's like, great. At least you know what you should be doing. You know, like, the process is a big part. And yeah, it's, you know, it's you have to buy in, and you have to see the people that are doing it in front of you. You know, we had a lefty this year that was beating himself up because he's big. He's a big, strong kid, and he was, you know, just was 80. You know, it's like, listen, man, just trust it. And, you know, at the end of the spring, so it took a full year, but like the last 3 weeks of our spring, we had him throw a pen, and it was 89. and it's like, oh my God, we're so excited. But there's, all right, we've hit that mark, but now like we have to throw strikes and we have to embrace that. We have to find our release point and have the other pitch, his curveball completely changed into a wipeout slider. His fastball was electric, but we couldn't pitch him. He wasn't ready to get on the mound. You have to trust that. You have to go now. You have to go into the summer. You have to go pitch. Your stuff's there. It's ready. Go gain the confidence this summer, right? Come back in the fall, dominate in the fall, do the showcases with us. PBR comes to town, right? Like, get your measurables on their PBR website. Go face these Division I schools in scrimmages. Go have a great spring. Boom. You're Division I. And it's a process, but it happens every year. So it becomes a little easier for them to buy in when it's happening every year.
How are you managing their workload? Because, it's important. They're trying to get to the next place. So they're going to throw, probably for you in the spring, throw the summer, have the showcases in the fall. Then when are you giving them a little bit of shutdown time, if any?
We shut down after the fall. So as soon as our fall season's over, listen, upstate New York winters, man, they are, the falls are cold and rainy and the winters are tough. So we really just try to become grizzly bears, like we want to hibernate and eat a lot of protein and try to lift. We'll swing a little bit, but we really don't throw. We shut down the arms and let the cold weather do its work. And then when we bring them back in January, we start a gradual, I don't have them throw when they go home. We know what a disaster that can be. I tell them not to touch anything. Please don't throw. Please don't throw. Don't throw. When you come back, we will build you up. We have time. We have time to do that. So that's our shutdown period. It's usually the end of October until the end of January, where they can kind of rest a little bit. If they are a guy that threw a lot for us in the spring, their freshman year, and then they had a really good summer, and the perfect game. We got Greg out here at the Cape Cod League last year. That fall will be very abbreviated. They won't throw a ton for us in the fall, so we can get to that shutdown period a little sooner. But yeah, it kind of varies, again, individualized for each guy, what they need. But I do believe in a shutdown. I like to have the body I've always felt like when you're powerlifting and we're doing some benching and we're doing some squatting and we're doing things like that, I don't like to be real explosive. I feel like that's where we get in trouble with maybe tearing some stuff or hurting ourselves when we're, because what are you doing when you're lifting, right? You're creating tears in your muscles that you're hopefully filling with protein and, help building muscle. So I don't want to do anything too explosive like throwing or sprinting when we're into that powerlifting phase. We just want to put on weight. We really want to, get as big as we can get. And then when they come back in January, we'll start doing the plyometrics and the stretching. And, we do yoga once a week for stretching and breathing and things like that. So we'll take all that muscle mass and body weight that we've gained and we'll trim it up. We'll get them in the pool. We'll get them athletic and explosive, but it's just kind of our process. That's how we attack the body a little bit and what works for us in the environment that we're in.
Yeah. 7th World Series appearance, finally won it. Was because the starting pitching, was that the difference this year, winning it maybe than in the past, or was it other things?
Yes. 8th, which is, crazy, but 8th appearance. Yeah, I think having those two guys up top really set the tone for us. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Greg Ferrone's the greatest pitcher we've ever had. He's a dominant, big, left-handed, thoroughbred racehorse. He was built for this. And I'll be honest with you, man, he's nowhere near his ceiling. It's
That's
very
fun,
effortless.
Isn't it? It's a lot
very
of fun.
Effortless. There's he's not a max effort guy right now. He's not ripping through his finish. It's when you go from 81, 82 to 94, there's a release point feel part that can get lost, right? If you're going max effort and just letting it rip, you lose that touch. I think Greg did a great job of handling that velo jump without making his body do that so much, where he's taxing his body and his arm. It was a very controlled motion. It was a very smooth motion. We got a guy out here that's that way right now, Ryan Geary for Oklahoma State. Big, tall, left-handed pitcher. You know, you watch a bullpen with him and you're like, oh my God, man. Like, wait till you start, you know, wait till you start really pulling down. You know, like your stuff is just going to be unbelievable. You know, you just see it. Like, they're going to be a high draft pick. You know, and there's so much room for growth. And I think that's the great part about Greg is it wouldn't shock me if, you know, we're watching him next year and he's 99 to 100 and he's, you know, pulling down a little bit harder.
Strike thrower at 81, 84? Strike thrower?
What's that?
Was he a strike thrower at 81, 84?
He was.
And I say it like strike throwers are strike throwers. Like, if they're strike thrower before they make that velo jump, eventually they're going to be a strike thrower after they make the velo jump.
Eventually.
And
listen, we had some issues this year early. There was some feel issues early in the year where, you know, he's throwing 94, but it's just taking off on him. You know, and and when he was 81, 84, there was a little bit more movement in his pitches. You know, we're throwing a cutter. We're throwing some pitches that had a little bit more movement and command. When we kind of got rid of the cutter, you know, and we're just, you know, he was so effective with just the fastball. We wanted to stick with one of them and just kind of ride that out with, you know, we spent a lot of time this year focusing on the changeup development because he had a really good hammer, really good curveball, really good fastball. He tightened up his fastball to be a little bit sharper of a hook, and we really forced the changeup. It's just, honestly, early in the year, we were speeding up bats with the changeup.
Yes. So he's in hitting speed with it. That's hard because now that 91 and 94 is an 83 to 85 mile an hour changeup. That's going to be in hitting speed for a lot of guys.
Yeah, so we had to focus on the movement part of it, make sure it wasn't just the velocity change, that there had some dip and dive to it.
What did you guys do to help develop the changeup to get more movement on it?
So I really like to long toss it. And
I do too.
I feel like with the changeup, a lot of guys get the changeup in the middle of their hand, right? You'll see the pinky kind of wrap around the side and the thumb around the side. I believe in a changeup it has to be off balanced, right? So I'd like to get it to the right side of the hand and force like the thumb and the finger to kind of push it to the pinky a little bit and get the pinky on top. So when we're driving that thumb into the ground, the pinky is really on top, forcing that movement down. So if we can get it to the right side of the hand, that creates a lot of movement. The other thing is if you split it and wrap it and you get it in deep, now you're working with the left side of the hand and there's imbalance in the ball in your hand, right? I feel like the changeups that stay middle are too balanced on the ball side and you don't get that good dip and dive. So we try to get imbalance in the hand and it's one or the other. You can throw it with your pinky and you can get a feel for that through your long toss, or you split it and you try to throw it that way, you know, but whatever way you can get more comfortable, we're trying to find a side of the hand that works.
I mean, when you took it over in 2005, did you envision this? I mean, you broke the school record for wins, and it was 21 wins. I mean, that's how far the program's come in 17 years. Is the school record for wins was 21 wins when you got there.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just thought that the recruiting difficulties of being where we were, you know, the one thing that I always kind of thought of was that there were other sports programs at Herkimer that were successful. So it's like there's a model there where you can be successful. I just didn't think it was going to get to this level where, you know, we're having kids play, you know, Pat Dorian's in AAA, you know, and we got guys getting drafted and, you know, and to actually win a World Series and to go to 8 World Series is remarkable. You know, I can tell you that there was talk the year before I got there about dropping it. So, you know, I mean, there was discussions, you know, if it was ever going to be nationally competitive, why are we doing it? You know, and I wanted that opportunity to kind of build it and we were able to do it very quickly. And I think, again, that just goes from a lot of recruiting. That's the one thing that I think we've done well is we've brought a lot of players in. We recruit really good kids and really good talent and get a chance to develop. But, you know, you don't win any games without the kids. And, you know, we've done a good job of bringing guys in.
I mean, do you talk about national championships now or is it still the same?
No, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Since you've
for
gotten
us,
there, you're able to talk about it now. It's not a pipe
I
dream.
think for us, for me, for our squad, is we say a successful season is getting the World Series, right? Like if you can win a regional and get to the World Series, that is an amazing accomplishment, and it puts the program on the map for the next year, the next 2 years. It's very important for the program to be on the map because we're winning, and so getting to the World Series was always a great accomplishment for us. But that was always the one thing we haven't done was win it. So our kind of pitch was come help us win the first one. We've been there, right? But we really want to win it for New York. There hasn't really been a school that's won it junior college wise in New York, and we want to do it for our region. And listen, it makes the region stronger, right? People start to recognize that our region is legitimate, even though it's in upstate New York, and Niagara finishing second last year, us winning it this year. And then, boom, 5 kids on the first team All-American team. I think that gives the region some credibility that our brand of baseball up there is really good. Listen, we scored a lot of runs in the World Series. Our first game in the regionals, we ran up against an arm from Finger Lakes that just diced. I mean, this kid diced us and put us in the losers bracket, threw a shutout on the board. Won 2-0 and just carved. And he was a great arm, and they were the 4 seed. So our region has gotten really good. There's kids throwing 94, 95, 96, and it's incredible. It's a really talented region now, but it's good for everyone up there. I think everybody was happy that we won it, because it brought credibility to all the programs.
Well, you look what the Division One teams did in New York this year too. It was a great year for the state of New York for college baseball. It was an unbelievable year.
Yeah.
Did you say anything after the Finger Lakes game? Did you say much to the guys afterwards to get ready for the next day?
Listen, we've been there before. Yeah. We've done it before. We know it's a harder road. We just got to, go one game at a time and be the last one standing, and they all knew what, we had a sophomore loaded team. So, you could see it in their face, like, oh my God, like this road, it's not an easy road. We knew what our bodies were about to go through. But they had done it before. So, I know they believed. But, it's crazy, man. It's so weird how a team can show, just have that click for you that one weekend. And, the weekend before you're forcing it, you're trying to do things to force it to make the click happen. And, I think that would be every coach's dream to find out what that one specific meal is.
That's $1 million question. You make $1 million if you can bottle that up.
Chicken, what is
And historically, you've had great offenses. So, do you feel like there's something that you do to help develop offense? Because I feel like hitters have caught up to pitchers now with the velocity that they're seeing. Is there anything that you do offensively that you feel like helps your guys? Because your numbers have been good every year offensively.
So I think the first thing is approach. You have to have a philosophy in what you're trying to accomplish. I think we're very clear about what we want to do with our guys. We want to stay away from all that nasty breaking stuff. Yeah. That's everyone's got a different curveball. Everyone's got a different changeup. Everyone's got a different slider. Fastball's a fastball. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of run in there, but we want to find those and hit them as early as possible. We don't want to get ourselves into bad counts, and we just want to be aggressive. We want to be, up there with the feeling that we have a weapon in our hands that we're trying to do damage, and that mindset of just driving the baseball. We want to keep it simple at the plate. We don't want to be too many moving parts. We want to have a soft front foot. We want to get the foot down. We want to get good foot hip hand separation and allow our hands to hit. I think that's the part that, we get all these swing, doctors out there and, they want to get elbows and snapping and all these different things. But, where are the hands? I think that's the part that we lose sometimes. Great hitters have great hands.
Yes.
They have to make that adjustment, right? Like you're sitting fastball, change up. You have to have the ability with your hands to make that adjustment. And if you are so caught up in your swing in trying to create leverage or power by using your body and having a high leg kick and having your hands come with your front foot, the adjustability becomes tougher there. So
same thing with the max effort pitcher. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with a max effort pitcher.
Exactly. They're very relatable. Right? They're very relatable. We want to stay behind our front leg in both situations. Now we want to get to it. We realize that the front leg is that stabilizer. And once we get to that front leg, our thighs, that rotation on our thigh with hitting and pitching is the moneymaker, but we gotta get ourselves in a position to land on that and be in a good spot. In both aspects, you're absolutely right. And we talk about the similarities between pitching and hitting and staying behind it. But, listen, man, you see it out here, these guys come in here with, these leg kicks and their hands coming with their legs. And, they're the first week, it's funny. You watch the development of these hitters here in the Cape. The first week they get their doors blown in, their big leg kicks or big swings blown in. And it's like, listen, guys, we've got to create some balance and, some soft feet a little bit and not sell out quite as bit. And then you start to see some contact, right? You start to see some contact, maybe not good contact, but you start to see some contact. And then they really start to feel that adjustment. And, the third phase is you get hard contact. Yeah. And then it's about buying into that hard contact. I tell guys all the time, they'll hit a line shot to right field with great backspin, true spin, right at someone, and they're mad and they come in. I'm like, bro, that's it. That's what we're trying to do every time is get great that's great contact. Can't be mad at it. You hit it where it was pitched. Unfortunately, it was right at someone, but that's what we want. You're not getting your doors blown in. You're not getting bad contact. You're getting good contact. So stay with that, and I think those are the phases you kind of see out here. So, you even see the adjustment at this level is you just want to stay balanced and keep things simple. The more moving parts you have, the more,
Well, you said it locks your hands up. The harder you land on your front foot, the more your hands are going to get locked up, and you just don't have any adjustability. Even the elite leg kick guys at the big league level landed soft. Think about it, A-Rod. A-Rod, huge leg kick. His front foot landed extremely soft. Donaldson, same thing. Huge leg kick guy, lands extremely soft on his stride foot. Extremely soft.
Yeah. It's my coach in college, Kevin Nichols. He was down at Erskine College for, 20 years, something like that. Broke all kinds of offensive records. Then went to College of Charleston and really did a great job there of creating their offense. And, I learned all my hitting from him. I mean, he was a big, soft front foot guy, weight transfer, keeping your elbows down, using your hands.
How my high school coach was. Test the ice with that front foot. That was our cue. Test the ice.
When you see these, I call them Mickey Mouse numbers, you see these Mickey Mouse numbers come up and they're like, how are you hitting 440 with 15, bombs? It's like simple. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible and create a mindset. And we get a lot of that from him. And Lane, our assistant, has done a great job of getting into some of the, the foot things, some foot adjustments that help with that. And, I'll be honest with you, the home plate pitching machine, that may have been worth every dime that we've spent in that. I know some people use the hack attacks and things like that, but we get that home plate pitching machine up on, inside, and you get that thing reared up, throwing 93 with pretty good spin. It's not all over the place, and you mix in the curveballs, get a 10 pitch sequence and work on sliders and change ups and breaking balls. And, that's been a huge part for us, seeing those reps. And, guys hate the machine at first. They especially the freshmen coming in, they can't touch it for a week. I'll never hit this thing. They get so mentally beat up over it, not being able to hit it. And then, like out here, they get their doors blown in. Then they get bad contact. Then they get good contact. And then they start to gain some confidence, and that's been a great thing for us at home as a learning tool. These guys are learning it on the field. But
That's the
been
most
cool.
transferable drills is adding the swing decision in. The home plate allows you, it has the swing decision in because it's not the same pitch every time. So it's just like in a game.
Yep. Got to get the foot down.
Yep. Hey, who has the best hot dog in the Cape?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. Last night they pulled the head last night. Last night was a big review on the 4th of July. Nice ballpark we went to last night. So it was we gave it a 9-1 last night.
Are you out of 10?
Yeah, out of 10. Out of 10. We had a couple 8.9s. We had 2 that were tied, and then last night kind of put them over the top. It was a really good German dog. They had it on the grill, so it had some grill marks on it. The bun was soft. I tell you, we started as a joke the first game, and me and Brian Fitzpatrick, kid from Rutgers, great personality, and he's killing it out here. He's had 3 starts, hasn't given up a run. So I'll joke with him. We make magic happen on the camera and on the field,
Love it.
He's killing. So it's kind of been our thing. And, now we got Ryan Chassie from Campbell, who's an amazing kid. He's doing great.
Hey, a lot of good personalities with Campbell's program. I love going to watch. They're close to us. Coach Hayer does a great job. They have a lot of good personalities in their program at Campbell.
Yeah, we had Cade Kuehler out here for a couple weeks before he left for Team USA. But Chassie's great, man. I tell you, I love that. He's a big lumberjack. I joke when I say, hey, your recovery run, right? I know you probably run through the forest and just clothesline trees, but, we need you to keep your arm rested. So, he did a hot dog graphic for me, and he's got a camera. He likes to take pictures. He's really into photography, and you'll see him even here on the Cape. He's wandering around before he's got to get hot. He's taking pictures everywhere. So he'll take pictures during it. And it's been fun. The guys have gotten into it. It gives us something to laugh about. And, I get a lot of good feedback from other guys. They'll send me messages that they're funny and, keep doing them and things like that. So I said, might as well. We'll do the whole Cape. Trying to get a guest appearance, maybe get someone popular on there to do it with me as the summer kind of winds down a little bit. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And everyone's got a hot dog, right? They're all different. So it's been fun to kind of go about that journey with these guys.
With your family history with the military, was that going to be your path out of high school? Or did you think about going to college first coming out of high school?
Yeah, my family situation was a little different growing up. So I knew the situation I was in, that I had to kind of find a way. I had to find my path. And the military just provided that path for me. I knew that would create opportunities for me to go to school and kind of find myself a little bit, find out who I am. I was blessed to have some great mentors. I learned a lot about diversity, in the military. I didn't have a lot of it growing up in my high school. When I got in the military, I honestly became the minority, and I had some people that kind of took me under their wing. Sergeant Hodges, retired military guy, really looked after me and was my guy. And I still talk to him this day. I reach out to him. Sometimes we have diversity things that we deal with on campus, because I'm the housing coordinator there too, and just use him as a mentor for me, somebody I love and very much, and respect the relationship that he had with him and guiding me through those young years of my life. And so it was my path, it was my path to doing what I wanted to do. I could have stayed in the military, probably be retired right now. I was very good at playing the game. I don't lose my cool too much, except with umpires. No, I'm just kidding. It was just my path, and I could have stayed there and done that, but I wanted more out of my life. I thought it was, a kind of a day-to-day kind of being in like a machine, right? They control your life. You don't have a lot of say. You have an impact, but it's your impact is as a whole group. It's not really individualized. I wanted to make an individual impact in our world, in our country, and so I wanted to get into coaching. I thought it was something that I could do, and I wanted to play, so I was able to play, and I had a path to go to junior college down and play for Hall of Fame coach Howard Roy down at Florida Community College Jacksonville. Unfortunately, I just picked a bad year to go down there. They had a great team. They had a 10-man rotation with 9 returning pitchers. And, they saw me as guy 12 and they wanted to redshirt me. And, I'd been out of baseball for 3 years. So I get that. I mean, it was probably the right situation for them, but for me not playing for 3, I wanted to play, so I decided to go home and they went to Grand Junction. So, I think they made the right move. So I came home and played for Herkimer and we were able to, kind of start to build something there a little bit. I helped recruit my freshman year. So our sophomore year, we had a pretty good year and made the playoffs for the first time in a while, I think like 15, 20 years. So when I got my scholarship to go play for Coach Nichols down at Erskine and I went down there and played for 2 years. And I love that man. He's, again, my mentor and somebody I talk to once a week and somebody I love very much. And, he taught me a lot about the pro game. He was a Philadelphia Phillies draft pick, played at University of Alabama. He taught me to have a little flair, a little, confidence in my game. He had that confidence. I think I got in a challenge with him probably 3 times where I was on the mound and he, challenged to hit me. And, him and his brother was a pro guy too. And he was on a team at that time and they kind of went tag team on me on the mound, right? And hitting one after the other. I could get his brother. I could get him out. Man, Nick hit bombs still, and he would put one over the fence with a real easy flat swing and just kind of, bat flip and laugh about it. And we had a great time down there. We really did. And I value those years with him and that relationship that I had with him and the relationship I had with Coach Testa at Herkimer made me want to become a coach. And baseball has been a part of my life since I was a kid. It was me and my dad's connection. It still is. My dad drove down the World Series to watch the Giants championship game. He was out here a week ago catching a couple Cape games. And, I think he's really proud of the accomplishments that I've had in the game and something that we started when I was a kid, just walking down to the park to play a game of catch and grab a slush puppy from the local convenience store.
Hey, what did the military teach you about handling diversity? And with diverse backgrounds, people maybe aren't always going to see eye to eye on things, and it might just be a cultural difference. How the military help kind of handle that diversity piece and maybe help conflict as well?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was put in some bad situations where I didn't really know how to react. I was, in a room one time in a bay with a bunch of people that were different than me. And, I was flat out told by someone, I've never been around a white person. I don't trust white people and I don't trust you. And that messed me, and I remember the feeling thinking, man, I didn't do anything wrong. This guy doesn't even know me and he hates me for no reason. Well, what's the shoes on the other foot? Yeah. And that kind of put things into perspective for me a little bit. And it helped create conversations. I would ask questions. I think that's what Sergeant Hodges told me. I asked him, T. Hodge, why did you take me under your wing? Why did you, help teach me about so much about this world and culture and things like that? And he's like, because you're real. You're not fake. And there's so many fake people in this world that I love you because you're real. You're a real person. You ask real questions. You don't have hate in you. And once you start to identify those things about yourself, you want to project that to other people. There's no room for hate. You just get to know each person. I think that's what's been great about our team is we've been a diverse team. We've had kids from Japan, Alaska, Florida, Texas, Korea. I don't care where you come from. I think we can learn off each other in different cultures. And, some of my strongest teams have had players from different areas. I mean, they all are. All of our teams have been really diverse from different cultures, and it just doesn't matter to me. To me, what matters is the person that you are. If you're a good person and you have good qualities and you have love in your heart, those are the guys I want to be around. Those are the relationships that I value. I value each relationship. It doesn't really matter to me if we're the same or we're different. It's the value of the relationship.
Do you have a fail forward moment? Do you have something that you thought was going to sidetrack you, but looking back now was one of the better things that happened to you?
Yeah, probably having my son at a young age. I was in the military and I had my son when I was 21 years old, and he basically was born when I was getting out of the military. So it was a very tough situation in my life to kind of find myself a little bit. And that relationship with his mother was not something that was going to be in the future. So we had to kind of figure that out. And, I give her a lot of credit because we were able to put together a plan that we felt was best for him. And she had him when he was a baby, and those baby years when I think a son needs to be with his mother, and I think part of our agreement was I had to graduate. If I graduated college, then I would have custody when he started school. And, I give her a lot of credit for going along with that and having that happen and me raising him. And I think that has kind of been the driving force in my life where that could have took me out. I could have maybe had to go work or, really sacrifice some personal goals for him, and I would have done it. But, she allowed me to do that. She allowed me to go get my degree and kind of play baseball and do my thing while she raised him as a baby. And, I was able to raise him into a man. And I think that we'll both tell you that the man that he's become is better than we could have even ever imagined. I mean, I'm telling you, I deal with these kids every year, and my son, he never gave me a problem growing up. He really didn't. There was never that big moment where he really disappointed me. He's just been an amazing kid. He's done amazing things. He's got a bright future ahead of him. And, something that was probably the thing that could have thrown me off, but I think it became a positive and a driving force in my life. And so much so that I started over, right? So my son graduated when he was 18, and me and my wife helped raise him since he was in second grade. And when that graduation year came, it was kind of like, we're ready for the next step in our life. Let's maybe get some more kids in this house. So, we started over. We had two girls, and, they're 4 and 2 now. So I'm going to be one of those lucky dads where I have kids in the house for like 40 years, but it keeps you young, man. I love being a dad.
You get a do-over too. I think about that sometimes. My kids are older now, and it's like, okay, I'm sure I continue to make mistakes as a parent, and to have younger kids at that age, you almost get a do-over to learn from your mistakes with the first go around. But I'm happy for you that your son's turned out great, because you just never know. With life, you never know how it's going to turn.
And I think I spent so much time, because I was so young, right? I spent so much time with my son trying to make sure that I was a good dad, like making sure that he was raised right and had good morals. And I don't know that I necessarily took the time to stop and enjoy the moments. Yeah. And being able to do that with these two girls, stop and just enjoy these moments, has made it even better, right? I mean, I'm telling you, I eat up every moment. I eat up every cuddle I can get, every hug I can get. I'll bring my daughter to the field tonight. We're rolling to Orleans. It's a short little bus drive, but we ride the big yellow bus. She's coming on the bus with me. We want to just every experience that we can have, I want to enjoy with them and take the time to stop and enjoy it. We go to the beach every morning. Our games are in the afternoon, and my wife works from home, even out here. So I'll grab the two girls, I'll throw them in the car, I'll take them to the beach. We'll spend 2-3 hours at the beach in the morning, and I'll just sit there and watch them. And it's great, man. I love it. People say you're crazy. I say, no, I'm perfect. I'm living the perfect life. So, and my son's back, he's living in the house, going to school at Herkimer, which is great. So we have the full family there. It's an interesting dynamic, but it blended very easily, and he's doing great. Very odd, right? Like, we made this journey together. He moved to Herkimer with me my first year when I started coaching. He started kindergarten. We go through his whole childhood, bouncing around, trying to win it, trying to build something. He was on the team this year, first year on the team, and we won a national championship. I mean, it's a crazy story, and it makes it so special that he was there with us, a part of the team, and being in that moment with me. It's just, it's what makes it so special, honestly.
What are some final thoughts?
I appreciate the opportunity to come on here. I would just tell every coach out there, enjoy it. These years, they build on you quick, and I still consider myself young, but there's been a lot of years of memories that I've had, and and never think that you know everything. I think once you start to feel that way, like that you know the game and you've got it figured out, it's time to get out. I'm learning every year. I'm open-minded about things. I talk to these kids. They all have different approaches. They all have different mechanical things they do. And it's not me to go to them and say, "Yo, you're doing this wrong. You got to do it this way." Every conversation I have with these guys is, tell me what you're trying to do. What are you working on? Like, what are your cues that your coach wants you to do? So I have a better understanding of what you're trying to do. And it just, it starts conversations. And we had a guy the other day that we just had that conversation, and I didn't fix anything. I didn't fix a thing. I just talked to him about what he was trying to do, and I agreed with him. I agree. You got to fix that. You're doing the right things. And he had a huge night. He went 4 for 5, was hitting line drives and got the ball out of the air a little bit. And, just those little conversations you can have, creating relationships. We see it out here a lot. I think sometimes even at the highest level, they just, they get these highly talented kids and they just bring them on campus and let them play. They provide a place for them to play and showcase their talent. But, have those conversations with these kids, create those relationships. You don't have to be the bad guy. You don't have to do that. You can be a good guy and love your guys and tell them that you love them, and they don't have to fear you, and that would just be my message to all the coaches out there. We're in this together. It's never about you. It's about the kid. And if we can think about it that way, I think we'll all be successful.
Thanks for your time, Jason.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.